Still got this awful housewives wardrobe upstairs. I can look at and think, oh God, did I actually wear that? People have been asking me, what have I done? Purely put that down to, it's nearly been a year free of alcohol. We got engaged after 6 weeks, married after 6 months. I'm not afraid of someone shutting the door 10 times. I'll go back on number 11 and maybe they'll change their mind. We had big ambitions and we were probably quite delusional. I say wear failure like your best shirt. There is no such thing as failure because you're only learning for the next lesson. It was such a shock because wasn't in her family. And he said, Mummy, I just have one question for you. I'm talking about it. So God, it's terrible. And he said, I just want to know, are you going to die? God.
Welcome to the New Chapters podcast, where I explore what happens after the pivot. We're talking bold moves, quiet resets, and the powerful reinventions that shape extraordinary lives. And this week's guest is Dr. Tessa Hartmann CBE. She is, of course, a former Real Housewife of Jersey, PR and fashion powerhouse, momager to 4, yes, you heard that right, and now a sustainable swimwear entrepreneur. So over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be diving into the reality TV whirlwind, surviving cancer, quitting booze, reinventing life with business in hearty swim. Plus, we'll have our quick fire round where we get into the real mind behind the reinvention. Well, Dr. Tessa Hartmann, it is an absolute joy to have you on. Thank you so much. A familiar face, because of course we've seen you on the Real Housewives franchise, and I keep nice and up to date with you and what you're up to through social media and all the rest of it. But we've actually never met in person, and yet I feel like I know you.
Absolutely. I know it's kind of weird. Like I've followed your incredible career on TV, so I feel like I know you as well. So I think we're both the same on that front. And we've kind of bonded on Instagram, which was
You've been such a supporting person, and I love that energy about you. A lot of people compare you to Kris Jenner from the Kardashians. Would you say that's the Scottish version?
It's very flattering. I will take any compliments, Isabel, if they come with somebody that's created a billion-dollar brand like she has. I haven't quite got there yet, but I'm not stopping till I do. She's a whirlwind, and she's got a big family, and they've all done really well, and she knows a thing or two about branding. So
she does, and reality TV.
Yeah.
Was your experience what you thought it looked like, having, I presume, watched the Kardashians, being on Real Housewives? Was that, a positive experience?
Yes. Look, I don't regret anything, and I love TV, and it was a wonderful experience. It was an experience just to actually understand the business of TV production.
It's slow, right? There's a lot goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's slow, and the dress code. I think I mentioned to you before that I had to wear coloured outfits, dresses.
But we like black.
We're women of black. My wardrobe is black, and a bit more black. So that's one thing I do regret, that I actually didn't put my foot down and stay true to myself. But, it was new, and I was experimenting with what I was told I should do, which is colour. And I still got this awful housewives wardrobe upstairs. I can look at and think, oh God, did I actually wear that? Because it's just not just.
Well, I have wardrobes of rainbow dresses that I would literally not step foot in apart from for TV. And my friends would sort of say, lime green? Seriously?
I know. What were you thinking? I know. When the television show came out, I lost count, and many of my girlfriends text me going, "You're a fashion guru. You've worked with all these luxury brands. What the beep is that coloured pattern dress you're wearing?" And I was like, oh, don't start.
It was a new chapter, and you got to showcase this island that you love, and we got to see inside your beautiful house, meet your beautiful family. How was that? What's it like having people feel like they know you walking down the street, who've seen inside your kitchen, for example?
That side of it's quite funny, and the irony of it is I still do a lot of work in Scotland, and I'm back and forth there all the time, and they make me laugh because our black humour is just brilliant. And obviously, Housewives, the format is you fall out with people. So of course, every time I meet Glaswegians, they'll give you these unbelievable one-liners about whoever was the enemy on the show, and that's the kind of banter that I love, because that's just, it's supposed to be taken with a pinch of salt. That's sort of, it's the entertainment. And I do love the reaction I've had in Scotland with it, because it's humor like only the Scots can understand.
Well, season 1, I feel like was fantastic, and you seem to be absolutely loving life. I don't know about the second season, and obviously you quit after that, and then the show stopped in Jersey. What happened there? What's the tea? Are you still in touch with any of the girls?
I think the easiest way to explain it, I don't regret anything I did.
Yeah.
Loved it, and I would have continued it for 10 years if I were lucky. First series, amazing. Second series, it was like going back to school. I walked into a room full of women that were suddenly overnight no longer my friends, and it was very personal and very, I think when you strip the fun from it, then you ask yourself, what's the point? And it's quite upsetting at times, and I consider myself a bit of a rock. I'm Glaswegian, I'm made of strong stuff, but I was kind of unprepared for what went down, and it was a shame, because it should have really, it was shown in 28 countries, and I wish I could bring it back with a group of women that inspire me, that actually really are great friends and have stories to share.
But the reality TV formula is producers in the background poking and prodding, telling you things that you should never hear that have been said about you. These things happen in real life, but we're polite. We hide it, don't we? We think it, we don't say it, but you're encouraged to say the worst and do the worst. And unfortunately, people's feelings are hurt, I suppose. Would you ever do reality TV again?
Oh God, yes, I do. Heartbeat. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, I understand the formula. As media.
Yeah.
I think we all do. I think they didn't. I think that's the sad thing. By all means, let's deliver the drama, girls. Let's give them a good show. But when we come off set, let's hang out and be real people and real friends. And that just didn't happen, which was a shame.
And do you think that it showed Jersey in its best light?
Phenomenal for Jersey. I mean, I think it was the most unbelievable showcase for this island. 28 countries, the press coverage we received, and just to have the social media of all our bays and our tropical waters and our white sandy beaches and clean air. And I mean, you couldn't, and from that perspective, it was a real shame that it didn't continue. But who knows, maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they'll find, different women, and actually we'll do it again. Who knows? I wouldn't say no to anything.
I'd watch it.
Yes. And my kids are a lot older now. I mean, my son still winds me up about the infamous boob cake, which is one of my favorite.
I've seen that.
The entire series.
What have you done, Mum? It's so weird.
TV gem, the sparklers on the boobs. It was just it. And again, it just happened. It wasn't kind of like planned. I just had them and I stuck them in. And as soon as I did, I thought, oh my God.
As if it was the sparklers that was the only thing that was extra about the whole scenario.
Yeah,
I love it. Was it transformational for Talia, your second child, your second daughter, in terms of a platform, or was she just already making it on her own there?
No, I mean, it was a bit of fun for her. She'd done Celebs Go Dating and loads before, and actually I should have listened to her, because she had a lot more experience in television now. She kind of was trying to prepare me for what's to come, and I kind of didn't actually believe it at the time, because my world is business. Is like, if I'm upset with somebody, I'll tell them we'll move on. I don't hold a grudge, and actually I think I'm really easy to get on with, because what I am, what it says in the tin. But this was just, it just wasn't fun. And when you strip away the fun, what's the point? Because I would have quite happily gone on for season after season.
It's interesting because, as you say, if you're not enjoying something, why do it? You probably had a bit of that perspective thrown in because you'd had this horrible health scare just prior to coming on to the show, which probably made you reevaluate, if this isn't working for me, life is short, I'm not going to stick around longer than I have to. I want to ask you about that, because a lot of people watching, listening will have been touched by cancer in some way. Talk us through your cancer story, how you first became aware and what that was like.
Well, it was really funny, the chain of events, because I think it was probably about autumn 2016. And I remember reading an article on examining your boobs. And I thought, God, I was really, I should really do that. I was about 46 at the time. I thought I really should start doing that, and became more aware of it for whatever bizarre reason. It was almost like someone was telling me to examine my boobs. So I just got into the habit, every time I showered, I would just examine my boobs. Jump forward to March 2017, and I felt a lump in my breast, and I went to see the doctor, and he sent me almost immediately to see a surgeon, and it all happened very fast. And it was such a shock because it wasn't in our family. You know, there was no, I didn't even really know many people who had breast cancer.
Yeah. Did you feel completely well aside from the lump? Yeah.
Absolutely fine. You know, I've gone about my business. My youngest son at the time, Zach, was 9. Johnny was 11, and you know, the girls were like 17 and 18. And the first thing that actually was the most depressing for me was that my mum wasn't there.
Yeah, everyone wants their mum when they're ill. I mean, no one cares about you in the same way. Oh, bless you. Yeah, no one will ever love you the way your mother loves you, will they?
And I just thought, God, you know, I'm having to go through this without her. So
Oh,
that was possibly the most challenging. And then I think as a mum, I was just, and the weirdest thing, Isabel, was that the day actually I had a biopsy, and the day I got the results back was the 21st of March. And I remember that because that was the anniversary of my mum's passing. And I was a mess. And I remember saying to Talia, you know, I can't believe this has happened on this day. And she was such a gem. She's like, listen, she said, it's happened in this day to show you that she's here. She sent this day to you to show you that she's here. Turn it around and own this day because it means she's on your shoulder. And my mum was very much growing up in Glasgow. It doesn't matter how ill you were, you took a paracetamol, you got out your bed and you went to work or you went to school. You were never allowed to lie down, anything.
yeah.
And suddenly I just felt like, you know, I did feel, whether it was spiritual or whatever, but I did feel she was on my shoulder. And from that moment, it was, I say moment, 24 hours of tears. I thought, enough now. I need to pull my shit together and get on with it. And it was possibly the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life.
Right.
Because I think as a mum, my worry wasn't, I never thought about myself at all. I just thought about
the babies.
Hell, are they all going to survive? How could I possibly leave Sasha to manage anything? What would
No, I have the same thoughts. It's like, honestly, this can't happen. It's not because I, you know, worry about myself. I just don't know what would happen to you all. But you talked there about what a source of strength Talia was for you. But before you told her, what went through your head? You know, again, there might be people listening and watching who are waiting to break the news to their kids. I mean, 9 is really young for your littlest. You know, how did you have that conversation?
I told the girls first, and I actually probably wouldn't go through it. You know, there's only a year between them. We call them Irish twins, and they were like twins, Tessie and Talia, and they were my right hand. They literally took over. They grew up overnight because, let's face it, you know, all of a sudden you're having to think about, do I have a will? What have happened? Am I going to put my affairs in order? What would I arrange? And you have to think about all these horrific things, and you just fear for everything and every child and your husband. But the girls were unbelievable, and I told them a couple of weeks, and I didn't tell the boys until I knew I had a plan in place, a treatment plan. And then I sat down and I told them, you know, that mommy had this cancer, and of all cancers, it was actually a good one to have, and that I was committed and I was going to be fine. And they didn't say very much, but that night I was putting Zach to bed, and this is another tearjerker.
Oh, bless. My son's 9, so I'm just imagining this. Yeah.
I put him to bed, and he said, "Mommy, I just have one question for you." I'm tucking him in. I'm so, God, it's terrible. And he said, "I just want to know, are you going to die?" God. It's
Oh.
it happens. Anyway, I said, in my classic Glaswegian style, "Don't be so ridiculous. I'm not going to die." And it was, you know, I went through to my husband and I went, "Oh my God." I said, "You know, how do I do this?" He said, "You're just going to do what your mum and dad would tell you to do, and you're going to crack on." So that's what I did. And
did you believe yourself when you said it?
Oh yes. Oh no. Yes, I was. And I think that's really, really important. I think, you know, over the years, I've had a lot of issues with my health in terms of endometriosis. I had ovarian cysts, you know, I had laparoscopies, I've had my gallbladder. I've actually got quite a long list of things. And I think it made me sturdy and just, you know, that's a strong resilient to just deal with it. And so I had never any doubts because I'm a big believer in manifestation and visualization. If you allow that negativity to get into your brain, it takes over and it's like a virus. And I was determined not to let that negativity virus or that cancer virus anywhere near my head. And so I became a bit obstinate and I started green juicing. I changed my life overnight. I stopped alcohol. I carried a very deep, like homeopathic and alternative therapies routine alongside traditional therapies, had a reconstruction, mastectomy reconstruction. And then when they were in, I had a second blow because they take surrounding tissue out and they discovered cancer in my lymph nodes. So I had to go back into hospital 2 weeks later, 23 lymph nodes removed. And the only thing I was thinking at the time was they tell you that, the problem is they give you this big bag, Isabel, when you go through cancer. It's like, here's your bag. And inside this bag is basically everything that could go wrong with you and all the creams and all the things and da-da-da. And all this information of like all the bad stuff that could happen. And I got so mad and I thought, I'm just not having that. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. I'm not going to have bed sores. I'm not going to have a infectious scalp. I'm not having any of that. I was angry. And I literally took the bag and I threw it in a cupboard and I never opened it again. I thought, I'm just not doing it. And I increased my exercise. I was on a mission.
Yeah.
Walked, I swam, I did so much and I just really treated it. It became a project.
And the alcohol thing, let's not forget, and we haven't touched on this, but you built your empire, you built your reputation in the PR world in Scotland. Scotland's famous for hard drinking. I mean, it was an integral part of socializing, mixing with clients. Overnight, that was it. No more booze. Are you still booze free?
I'm booze free today. In fact, I'm a year in July. So after about 8, I did it when I was going through cancer for 18 months. And then I introduced like some rosé or tried to avoid champagne. It's meant to be not good for you, which is ridiculous because I grew up in Champagne. I should have had shares in Veuve Clicquot, frankly.
So
it was
perfect.
my favorite to fill out. But there's choices and it's got lots of sugar in it and sugar's not good for cancer. So I started having some rosé and then I gave it up about a year ago again because I'm on tamoxifen, which is a drug that you take after cancer. And you take that for originally it was 5 years. I take it for it's 10 now. So I'm on year 8.
Okay.
And I just think that, it was a variety of reasons in the sense of I felt perhaps that it wasn't agreeing with me. I'd have a couple of glasses of rosé and I'd feel really sick and draining and maybe it was postmenopausal or whatever, but I just wasn't feeling great. And I thought, you know what? I have been here so many times before. I need to pull my shit together and let's just cut out the booze.
And any upside to that? Did you suddenly find you lost weight and all of the things that you hear about skin's better, sleep's better?
I mean, it's totally transforming.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the irony is my clarity and my brain fog is just, oh my God, it's like unbelievable. I am on it like a bonnet. I'm fitter. I sleep better. I mean, I don't need to work harder, but I do work harder. But that's also because I don't get fatigued like I used to.
Right.
A couple of glasses of wine and you just lie down and then say I'm not talking about being drunk. I was never, that way inclined. It's sure I, maybe drink too much at a few parties, but it wasn't a regular thing. It's just I was groggy,
Yeah, it was a companion that was there the whole time.
Yeah, and it was too regular and I'd have a glass at night, 2 glasses at night. It was habit. And now I feel $1 million. My skin is like, I mean, people have been asking me, what have I had done? And I think I purely put that down to, it's nearly been a year free of alcohol. And, this is another funny thing when I was going through the breast cancer. I remember when I was doing Jersey Style Awards and I'd only been off the booze for like 3 months and I'd actually started the chemo a week before and my skin reacted to the chemo and the melanin and it actually made me look as if I had a tan.
All right. Never heard of that.
Right. So I went to Style Awards and I looked gone because I was very
never looked better
before, but I had this tan. And so I didn't tell anyone. I told no one about my what I was going through. I decided I wasn't going to tell anybody until the end, apart from my 2 best girlfriends. And so they came to the event and they're going, why
is your secret?
Why are you so tanned? And I went, it's the treatment, it's the treatment. And that was the funniest thing because as I started to lose my hair for the first month or so of treatment, I was still quite tanned. And then I went from the tan to a color of gray that is indescribable. But goes away. It goes away, and it's a project, and you've got to crack on with it, and you've got to look to the other end, and that's what I did.
And for someone as attractive and image conscious, having worked in brands and everything, and a lover of glamour, I'm assuming losing your hair was traumatic.
Listen, I think it's traumatic when it comes out in clumps and you're in the shower. I mean, there is no feeling like it. And again, I was very, call me vain. I'm more hold my hands up to it. I was also determined that I didn't want my family to see me look such a mess. And I always heard my mum in my head going, no matter how ill you are, put your makeup on.
Yeah.
Here, put on a nice outfit and you'll feel better. You won't feel as sick. And so I got wigs, and I got, my best friends are all in hair and beauty. So Talia contacted an eyelash company, and I got sent all these eyelashes.
Amazing.
Every morning, Isabel, I put my makeup on, I put my wig on, I drew in my eyebrows, and I cracked on, and I was never without my red lipstick, because that's how I wanted people to see me. I didn't want my kids to think that mummy looked ill.
Yeah, it's such a key part, making yourself feel better. As you say, it's sort of manifesting, isn't it? Manifesting how you want to be. If you feel and look good, then hopefully things will follow that path.
It pick me up. It is.
Yeah, it is a pick me up. I want to ask you quickly before we move on from health, but you talked about endometriosis there, and I didn't know you'd suffered with that. I suffered with that. Incredibly painful periods. I was really, really frightened that I would have problems with fertility. Thank God I managed to have 2 children, but I remember pretty much like the second date with my husband, I was like, just so you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to have kids. And, it was something that really worried me in my, pre-child life. And luckily I don't suffer from it anymore, but it's something that's not talked about enough, endometriosis. Do you mind telling us a little bit about, did that affect your fertility, and what was your experience?
Well, actually, it's so weird that you said that, because our stories are actually very similar, because I had ovarian cysts for a long time. I had about 3 removed from age 17 up to 25. Then I had endometriosis. And actually at age 26, they put me on, I don't know if you were on it too, they put me on Zoladex.
No, I was on something else.
So basically, the pain and the treatment was, we tried everything, and they just couldn't get rid of this pain. So they said, look, the only thing, and I was single, I was working, and said, and they said the only thing we can do is actually bring on the menopause, and it basically shuts you down for 6 months. And then we can give the womb a chance to breathe. Obviously, fertility is going to be an issue, but if there is a chance of you being able to fall pregnant, it's going to be when that treatment finishes, because after that, there's nothing else we can give you. Going, like, sorry, what? Explain that past me again.
It's not
and
cool.
Of course, I was like crying to my mum, going, I'm working, I don't have a partner, I don't have a boyfriend, and I'm thinking about, well, I've got 6 months in this treatment, which shut me down.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband that Christmas. Like you, I said, look, I might as well tell you. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is what it is, like feisty, whatever. And his background is actually clinical neuropsychology. So his background is medical. So he kind of knew all about it, and he's asking questions. Anyway, we got engaged after 6 weeks. Married after 6 months, and after we got engaged, he goes, look, he said, I think we should just try, and if something happens, amazing, and if it doesn't, fair enough. So we tried, nothing happened. And of course, my mum was like, she'd come from a very big family, and she was like, any news, and then that pressure comes.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. Everyone around you, what's happening this month, blah, blah, blah. And then we gave up, and we decided to adopt. And we contacted, Glasgow, and started proceedings, very early days. And then the following month I fell pregnant. And I went back to see my gynecologist, and he's like, this is your miracle baby. This is your miracle baby. You're going to have one, that's it. And I was over the moon.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, I am quite religious. I was very thankful. I prayed hands and knees that it would happen, and it did. Talia came along. She was another story, because they said to me at the time, you're not going to fall pregnant again with what you've been through in the operation. I had loads of laparoscopies, and my stomach's like a pin cushion with stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't do anything. And then I collapsed when Tessie was about 10 months, 9-10 months. And actually, nightmare scenario, they took me into hospital. They thought I had an ectopic pregnancy. It wasn't ectopic. It was a cyst in the ovaries and a pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
So they didn't think, and they didn't see the pregnancy, so they took me into theatre. They didn't expect Talia to survive. They said to me, because we've opened you up. we don't know if that's
Yeah.
Anyway, she did. And it was the most horrific pregnancy, and she was premature. You know, she's got a lot of asthmatic problems, and hence the reason we gave her a flute and she sings, because it improves her breathing and all of that. But the irony is, Isabella, we never use contraceptive ever again. And look at the distance. You know, I thought along came the boys. And actually, before Zach was born, I had a miscarriage, and that was, you know, that was traumatic, but I was so grateful, and I still am to this day. You know, it's the biggest blessing of my life.
My goodness. Yeah.
I mean, truly thought, and my family all had loads of kids. And actually, I remember being a bit angry and resentful of everyone that had children. And I freely admit that. I thought, God, you know, I don't want to be that person. And
and you would have had them, and you would have loved your adopted children if you'd gone down that road. But I mean, we would have adopted as well. But, you know, I just hope if anyone, again, is listening, watching, suffering with endometriosis and worrying about this, I want to give them hope. My cousin also has it. She was able to conceive. It can happen. We got married, and my husband was exactly the same as yours. And he said to me, look, we'll just try, you know, just see, because it sounds like it might take us a while. And we were pregnant in 3 months. And he said to me, he thought I'd been tricking him. He actually thought I'd made the whole thing up. He still says that now, which I wasn't. But anyway, let's move on from health woes. Stay with the kids for a bit, though, because you talk about the girls and the boys. I mean, the two girls, to me, they just look like you, and your two sons just look like Sasha. Is that a fair sort of description? You've got your mini-me's.
Yes, I think so. And it's so funny because I think the only one who has blue eyes actually is Zach, the youngest, and my husband has blue eyes. The rest have my eyes. And so when they were all growing up, it was actually 3 in 1, you know, Sasha. And I said, look, don't be greedy. You've got one that looks like you. That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. And what's your parenting style? Again, you know, you talked about wanting to be there for them, being really involved, and I can totally see you're a natural mama bear. But, you know, are you sort of relaxed? Are you a worrier? Do you lie awake at night worrying about them? You know, were you sort of watching them breathe?
Yes, I mean, I think that that comes with the territory. If you are, you know, a bit obsessive like myself and a control freak, you need to be on hand and over everything. On saying that, I do think I'm quite liberal. We operate a very kind of liberal household in that, you know, family comes first no matter what. We are a team. We've only got each other. And my next big mantra actually is, which I think actually only now I'm seeing the benefits of, because, you know, my father was in steel and completely away from the area that I wanted to be. We very much adopted a household of creativity. So for Christmases and birthdays, the kids would always get, which I'm sure they hated at the time, they would get software, instruments, computers, you know, piano books, you know, all these different things, you know, drawing. And just because Sasha was so creative, and I just adored that. Felt, God, isn't it great to give, you know, your kids that opportunity to learn? And I think that actually it was the best thing I've ever done, because, you know, Talia was probably about 14 when we got her a Mac, and I said to her, you know, she was dreaming since she was a child, wanted to be a singer. And I said, the only way any of this is going to work is if you have the ability to do it all yourself. So she was editing videos, she was learning software.
Brilliant.
Shop, Avid, everything. I mean, all my kids are really hands-on because, you know, my view is if you want to teach them something, give them the tools to enable them to do it. And instruments, you know, is been a godsend. Zach has started playing bongos when he was like 3. He's self-taught on lots of instruments. We taught him saxophone, but his world is music. But they love it. And
I interviewed Talia once. She came into the studio. Eamon and Holmes and I were interviewing her. And to this day, I've never interviewed anyone like her in my life. She was a tornado, blitzed in there, so unique, so full of confidence, but not in an arrogant way, she knew who she was giving love. It was a really extraordinary interview. She's quite something.
She is, and I think that comes from being, you know, having growing up with a work ethic. She's seen her mum and her dad work the way we do. I think also she has big dreams, big ambitions, but she's learned her craft. And, you know, it's hard, Isabel. I mean, it's so, you know, of all people, it's probably the most difficult industry in the world to go into, but you need to have that strong backbone. And, you know, no matter, I say wear failure like your best shirt. There is no such thing as failure, because you're only learning for the next lesson. And you need lots of lessons to find your success, and you just got to keep going. So
Tell me about your, I think, am I right in saying, is he Italian, German?
yes.
Neuropsychologist, Sasha, the artist. I mean, we've all seen him on Real Housewives, the eccentric, creative one. How did you meet? Is he the one with all the money, or is this the PR empire that bought your house?
Well, actually, at the beginning, neither of us had a lot of money at the start, and we lived in a lovely little cottage in the country before we got a little flat in Glasgow. So we kind of met at the right time because we had big ambitions, and we were probably quite delusional. And I think having those delusions were great, particularly in Glasgow, because everyone thought we were nuts and probably quite arrogant, but we knew what we wanted to do. And the amazing thing was I met him in a nightclub on a skiing holiday.
Brilliant.
In a drunken stupor. He was dancing on the table with his arm.
I can imagine.
You can imagine. And I was there with my girlfriend. And actually, when we met, he told me he was a clinical neuropsychologist. I thought, come on, I'm from Glasgow. I don't believe that bullshit. I told him I was a nurse. I went, oh my God, wow, I'm a nurse. And he's like, you're a nurse? I was like, yeah. He goes, like, what area of expertise? And I went, oh shit. I said, oh, pediatrics. It was probably about 2 days later before I told him that was nonsense. But it was a whirlwind. We got married very quickly. We came back. I just set up the business. And because of his background, he's always been an artist, albeit he was working in a brain trauma institute in Zurich, would you believe? And he's like, what the hell am I going to do in Scotland? I said, well, you could continue the medical side, or you could just come into the business with me because you've got the psychology. And advertising and branding is all about psychology. And you are a creative director. You just don't know it yet because you play music and you paint and you draw and you do all of that, which I don't. So actually, it's perfect. And we cut our teeth doing cheap little radio commercials and all the stuff you do when you're first setting up. And one of my first clients was Dunkin' Donuts in Scotland.
This is so Kris Jenner again. I'm getting Kris Jenner vibes all day here.
And but fashion was always my love, and I left the agency I worked for in London, coming back to Scotland, absolutely determined that I would have the first specialized fashion PR company in Scotland. And I did. I got there. I got there eventually, and I'm not afraid of. I think, again, coming from the regions, I'm not afraid of someone shutting the door 10 times. I'll go back to number 11, and maybe they'll change their mind.
Yeah, good for you. It's so inspirational, actually. I really love to hear it. And so that brings us to your new chapter, which is the sustainable swimwear brand, Hearty Swim. Obviously, got your name in it. It's got your husband's artwork in it. Your daughter models in it. Been in Miami Swimwear Week. You've been very kind and sent me some of the pieces, which I've very much enjoyed wearing in the south of France and in Greece.
You look amazing.
Oh, bless you. You're very sweet. Well, it's very easy. They're very wearable. So anyone watching it, you've got to get a pair. In fact, you even sent my husband some and he was wearing them as well. So thank you very much. So tell us where, you live on an island, you live near a beach. Is that literally where the inspiration came from?
Yeah, look, I'd always, I work with Gucci now. I'd worked with Louis Vuitton, Ralph Lauren, all the beautiful brands. And I'd always wanted to set up my own label, but I knew that I never really had the expertise on the design side. I also probably wasn't brave enough, Isabel, to do ready to wear, because I know the undertaking and what's involved.
Yeah.
And then my husband's art started to take off again late in life after COVID. That was a surprise because he's a reluctant artist. He actually doesn't give a shit about any of it. He hides. He loves his painting. He's quite happy if he doesn't share anything. Of course, I'm not happy if you don't share.
Oversharer.
Mission here. Let's work this.
I love it.
When I took a lot of the artwork out the storage, actually, when we came to Jersey, and I was looking through all, I thought, God, we've really got quite a lot of this. And I had a chap come to the house and I said, will you just come and have a look at this? If you think it's crap, then just tell me. But if you think it's got something. Anyway, he gave him his first exhibition, and then he got an exhibition in the Saatchi Gallery in London, and it grew from there. And I love the pop art. And from my business perspective, I knew all the fashion brands. You remember Moschino and a lot of the big fashion brands would license characters. It could be a Disney character, it could be a pop art character. Now, to license those characters is unbelievably expensive. We're talking millions of pounds. Lilia, like a Warhol or a Liechtenstein or something like that. And suddenly I realized that all this artwork was ours and we owned all the IP. So I got all the paintings photographed, and then I cut out all the pop art, and suddenly I had this template of art. And I thought, God, we live in an island. The only thing that this is going to work on is swimwear because I just seemed the natural fit. And we lived in Jersey. And I was thinking, okay, product shoots. I live on a beach. I'm not going to have to fly somewhere like budget. I'm here. I can shoot
You've got
it.
your daughters who can be models.
I've got the girls who can model, because it's expensive. But
Yeah.
because we do everything in-house,
Uh-huh.
it's the only way we could have done it.
Mm.
Because we do everything ourselves, because we've been doing it for other people for 30 years.
And it's sustainable, am I right in thinking? There's like an environmental, because again, being where you are, you're very aware of how the climate's changing and all of that.
Look, I call ourselves rebels and we're activists, and we just happen to produce swimwear. And each swimsuit is made out of recycled plastic bottles. In fact, it's a new generation fibre. There are 13.1 recycled plastic bottles in each swimsuit.
Wow, I love that.
And it's actually quite hard, Isabel, because there's so much greenwashing out there and people pretend, and it was a long time to actually source the fabrics. Every element of our supply chain is transparent, and that was really hard, and it's not cheap.
Yeah, but I really respect that, because I guess on an island, you are at the forefront, really. You see sea levels rising, you see temperatures rising, the impact on fish stock. I don't know what else you see. Perhaps are you getting flooding?
Well, we don't so much get flooding. We've got the highest tidal currents in the whole of Europe. But one of the things we are all about ocean conservation out at Hearty Swim. And that, to be fair, I was probably quite ignorant about the whole thing.
Yeah.
About 5 years ago, especially in the last 3 years. It's like going back to school. I've self-educated myself, and I'm very proud. I do a lot of work with marine conservation, but I'm very proud of Jersey as well, because they actually launched through our parliament here last year. They've got a protected marine zone around the waters of Jersey, and it went from 6% to 23%.
Wow.
And it's the largest protected area in the British Isles. So, we understand that actually, and I was doing a thing this morning about ocean conservation, and people just don't realise what's under there. They don't realise that it takes in more carbon emissions than the Amazon. Wow. And we are doing these sea trawlers, and they are ruining and killing the seabeds and killing life. And it's a minefield, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm gonna keep being that rebel activist through.
I love it. And bringing some glamour to the rebel activists, because you normally think of like swampy or just stop oil, but there you are, full glamour, or even better, in the Hearty Swim bikinis themselves. I love that. And you've been recognised, haven't you, for your contribution to fashion. I just want to read out some of these amazing accolades that you've collected over the years. I mean, at the beginning I said you're Dr. Tessa Hartmann, and you have a CBE as well. But let's start with, you are honorary president of the British School of Fashion. You have a doctorate from Glasgow Caledonian. You oversee the Scottish Fashion Awards, and then you got a CBE. Of all of those accolades, which was the biggest moment for you?
Oh, it's got to be the CBE. I mean, that was just, my mum wasn't there, but my daddy was, and I was just so relieved that he was. And still to this day, I am not going to lie, I do pinch myself. I do think it is a wonderful achievement, and we laugh, because that's what you do when you're Glaswegian. You laugh everything off, you're not snooty about it in any way.
Did you expect it, or did the letter come through the letterbox and you fell off your chair?
No, I didn't expect it. I had the university had contacted me about a couple of different things, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if something's going to happen, but I didn't expect it and then when it came through, it's such a fancy letter, I actually had to look up and Google, because the way it's actually written, I wasn't sure whether it was an OBE, an MBE, whatever. And then I thought it was an MBE because of the way it was written. And then my secretary actually phoned me back. She's like, she's in Glasgow. She said, nope, that's a CBE. And I'm going, no, it can't be a CBE. It can't be, no way. But it was. And I was really, really, truly humbled. And I just, and also because I do an awful lot of things that no one knows about. Always done that for my whole life. And sometimes they're tiring, and you think, God, why am I doing this? My husband's like, what did you say yes to? That's my problem. If you contact me, it's a really great idea, I'll say yes. And then I think,
that's why we love you.
Time. So I did feel that, that was a little reward for all the stuff that I do. So
they don't just hand them out. They have to be earned. Tell me about the day. Where did you receive yours, and who awarded it to you?
Well, that was the biggest dream, because it was Prince William. And I adore them all, but I particularly adore Prince William. And it was at Buckingham Palace, and it was just mind-blowing. What impressed me most about him, Isabel, was that obviously he's got a run of people, you queue up to do it. And actually Alan Shearer was on the same day as me.
Oh, really? Love Alan.
A room beforehand going in. And then so the equerry comes up behind him, and he whispers something in his ear. and then he talks to you. I mean, I felt like I was standing there for 10 minutes. It was clearly only 5 minutes, but that young man had a biographical information on me that was beyond impressive, about Scottish textiles, about fabrics, about Catherine loving lace produced in Scotland. And I was bowled over by how personal this 5 minutes was, and the information that he had on me that he could retain.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hundreds of people coming through, and that young man retained and made it feel so personal and so special. He really, from that moment on, I thought, what an incredible young man you are, because that's not easy.
Yeah, he's going to make a fantastic king. He seems quite serious. You're a massive royalist, aren't you? Have you always loved the royal family? Not all Scots do.
They don't. No, they absolutely don't. I am a big royalist. I celebrate all the time. And, I think it's like all things that I think if people would just give them a break and accept that they are a family, and families do fight, and this is what happens. But at the end of the day, we've got to pull each other together and crack on. And I think it just makes them more real, I think, if anything.
We're going to start the quickfire round in a minute. But before we start, on a quickfire note, Harry or William?
William.
I used to love Harry. I used to love his cheeky chappy side, but
do you know, it's funny. I think as a mum, I kind of want to get a hold of Harry and go, it's nothing worth it. Nothing's worth it. Just go make up. Whatever it takes, whatever you have to do, go sort it out. You kind
of feel like if he had a mum, this would have never happened.
Yes, I do think that's what he needs. I think he needs somebody to just rein him in and say, look, you've got that beautiful family now, you've got your lovely wife, whatever it takes. Because it's about that when you go through something like cancer, you really do reevaluate every part of your life and everyone in it. And you don't, tomorrow is never promised.
No, well, he's learning that, isn't he? Because at the moment, his father is still having treatment and his father won't see him. And I think that's really, really, really sad.
I think it's really sad. And if it were me, I would be knocking at the door. And if it took, 12, 13, 14 knocks, then I wouldn't give up. And I just think that's a shame.
Yeah.
Families, what do you do?
It's all about blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
Let's do our quick fire round, because this is where you get a real sense of the person behind the public image. Okay, so strap in, get ready. The glasses are on.
We're on it.
Okay. You have to answer your first answer. We're not taking second options. Okay.
No,
stay in or go out.
Out.
Risk taker or gritty survivor?
Risk taker.
Burn it down or gently let it go?
Oh, burn it down.
Love that. Dreamer or doer?
Both.
Always say yes or boundary protector?
Oh, always say yes.
Power suit, I think I know the answer to this, or barefoot?
Power suit with heels.
Gut feeling or careful planner?
Oh, gut feeling.
Live to work or work to live?
Oh, I do probably live to work. Yeah.
Always happy or practicing gratitude?
Again, both.
Good for you. Love that.
Practice a lot.
Town or country?
Oh, but I live in Jersey, but I do miss the city. I do miss London.
You got to choose.
Yeah. Okay, country.
Okay. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Oh no. Can't cook.
Oh.
Yoga or Pilates?
Yoga.
Cook at home, eat out?
Eat out.
And last one, early night or stay out till sunrise?
Oh, well, I'm an early nighter now.
Love it.
But I have to say, I have got the T-shirt for stay out. That was a past life.
Same. I love that. I just think it's quite fun. You get a real sense of what the person's like. So I want to just sort of do a bit of a closing chapter, I suppose, really, and sort of wrap up the session and talk about, we talked about the ladder, leaving the ladder down for people who are coming along behind you. Are there people that straight away come to your mind when you think about reinventing yourself and perhaps life after reality TV, for example, or whenever you've had a new chapter? Are there certain people that have always been your champion?
Yes, I think I hark back to my parents. They were the most pivotal people in my life and shaped who I am today. And regardless of them not being here, they are still here. And I think when you you grow up with parents that achieved so much. They did set the bar high. And so I'm not sure. My husband always said, you don't have to impress your dad. He was happy with everything you did. And I don't know whether that's something that I still subconsciously do to try and prove myself, but to who? But certainly I am inspired by what he achieved, and I got a lot to do yet, Isabel. In fact, it's ironic. 100 years ago in a past life, I went to see a psychic. I'm diverting, but this is really quite fun.
I love it. Yeah.
I was about 19. My girlfriend and I went to see a psychic, and she told me that I would marry somebody with German blood, European blood, which I thought was so ridiculous. And she told me that my life wouldn't take off till my mid-50s. Now, at the time, I was like, oh, come on. I'm 19. I'm not waiting for my mid-50s. And I chastised her, and I was so appalled by this bit of information. And she told me a whole lot of other things, which have all come true.
Really?
So my point to you is I am 55 right now.
Oh my gosh.
Stop drinking. I'm on a mission. My head is clear.
You're on the New Chapters podcast. It's stratospheric.
This is you are the instigator, Isabel. This is it, the new chapter, and I'm about to kick that button, and I am excited, and I do think it's all about ageism. I actually feel better prepared for my next chapter than I've ever done, and I'm 55.
And what do you want it to look like? Give us a flavour of what the next chapter is going to look like.
Well, my youngest son's just finished school, so he's going to university, so I've no longer got a child at school, which makes me feel quite old. My next chapter is definitely all about building this hearty brand and big ambitions for it. And we did Miami Swim Week, which was phenomenal and mind-blowing to me that we even made it there.
I mean, the Americans just do brands in a whole different league.
Can I tell you, and I shouldn't say this, but I will say it, that it kind of put London Fashion Week to shame in terms of its organization, in terms of its production, in terms of its just brand awareness and how slick it was. It blew my mind, and I've got a lot of fashion experience.
Might you move to Miami?
I don't think I could live in America, but I would certainly spend a lot of time there. But certainly
that criminal record.
Never going to work. The marijuana days. I don't think I could live in America, but it was fascinating in terms of how we were received.
Yeah.
And
positivity.
Their positivity,
yeah.
The models, the way people were, the way people wanted to help me. I've had more help at Miami Swim Week than I have in 3 years in the UK.
Isn't that interesting?
People that I met. I mean, I tell you, it kind of made me realize that my focus will be on that market and not local, just because of the feedback I got, the support I got, and the willingness of people wanting to help and get involved in the brand, which blew my mind and actually lit a fire in my belly to keep going, because it's hard. My job is actually to make it look easy, but it's not, and that was really just the tonic that I needed to keep going.
Well, it's one of the reasons that I came up with this idea for the podcast, because I really do feed off the energy of people like you, ideas people who are always hustling. And I think that with any luck, there will be people listening to this, hearing your story, who also go, you know what, this is giving me the chutzpah to get out and try and see what I can do, because all you can do is try. And so I really hope your story inspires lots of people. I'm sure it will. On the psychic thing, never done it. I don't know. I was raised, my father's Catholic, so we were very sort of strict upbringing, and I've just always been afraid. I wouldn't say no to it, but I've just always been afraid to do it. My mother-in-law, who's actually also Catholic, but she loves a little trip to the psychic every now and then, but I don't know, I'm always suspicious. There's something about me doesn't quite buy into it.
Look, I was a bit like you, but when my mother passed away, I went to see a psychic, and that was life-changing. And
to try and contact her.
Yes. And I didn't really know what I was seeking. I just wanted something, Isabel. I just
missed your mum.
Just missed my mum. I just wanted to know something. And I have to tell you that I go maybe twice a year for no other reason. I don't want to know what's happening in my future. I don't want to, I'm going to get this or I'm going to do that. I'm not in for that kind of level of fulfillment. I'm just in for a bit of connection. I have to say that it's delivered that to me. And whether that's a load of nonsense or whether it works, but the things that this particular lady has told me, no one else could know. No one else could know. So I found it without either of my parents very comforting, and it gives me just that bit of wow, that they are there somewhere in the universe, and it's wonderful.
Oh, well, Dr. Tessa Hartmann, you've given me the wow today. Absolutely. I've absolutely loved hearing your story, all of the back chapters, the new chapter, and of course, what is still to come. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and congratulations on this wonderful podcast.
Well, Dr. Tessa Hartmann, you have been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for all of your energy and showing us what true reinvention can really look like. And to you, the listeners and viewers, if today's episode sparked a single thought, perhaps a shift, or maybe gave you the courage to turn your own page, I'm here to say go for it, or share this with someone who you think might need it. Follow me on Instagram, or you can head to the website, which is linked there. But until next time, be kind to the version of you that got you here, and be bold for the one that you're becoming.